Hello and welcome to the Bobby Moore Stand. My name's Gary and this is my daily roundup. I've got lots of transfer news and other news, general club news to tell you about. But as you can see, the studio is undergoing a bit of a transformation. It's not quite there yet, lighting's not perfect, but the back wall is perfect now. As you can see, lovely and smooth, lots of nice gradient lighting. I'll start decorating it later, but one step at a time. It's taken me a couple of days. But anyway, please could you subscribe to this rapidly growing channel, thanks to you lot by the way, and help more people to find this video by giving it a like. Thanks so much for everyone who's subscribed so far. We hit, I think, 5,150 after the last show, which is quite astounding really. I know I say that every show, but it does amaze me. And thanks for enabling me to grow so rapidly. I mean, it's been a bit of a weight off my mind, and I feel like now I can start going on with some different plans that I've got for the channel. I'm going to speak about that later. All right, but first of all, let's talk about the news. There was a real bit of clickbait that I got hit with earlier. It's not just you guys that get hit with clickbait; it's me as well. And it said West Ham in points reduction, and then I read it, and it said West Ham are in no danger of a points reduction. I think to be clear on this, we have spent probably, I mean, I'm talking about in transfer fees, about 100 million net so far. It's a lot of money, but that's loosely how much profit we made off of Declan Rice last year. And you know we didn't spend very much last season. So we're not in a bad place. We've held over the purchase of Todibo until next summer. You know, that's a buy with an obligation, a loan with an obligation. And I think the same is going to be true for the transfer that I'll talk about later in the show. So that was a bit of an interesting one. I mean, looking back quickly at Villa last Saturday as well, that wasn't a good performance, was it? It wasn't a good performance. It was a bit. It was like the team was thrown together to deliver a tactical plan without the players to deliver it. You know what I mean? Also, credit to Villa. You got to give credit to Villa. They had our number from the off. They really did. And they honed in on our weaknesses. They knew exactly where our weaknesses were, and they took full advantage of it. So thoroughly deserved the win, in my view. There is some news. Apparently, Alvarez, according to Romano, might be back in the squad for the Palace game. Now that's a bit strange because earlier in the day I read that he wouldn't be back until the Fulham game after the international break. But if Romano says it, it must be true, right? So, you know, looking back at that Villa game, how do we prevent those weaknesses? There were a lot of them, right? I mean, this weekend, I think there will be some eyes raised, some eyebrows raised, not eyes, some eyebrows raised if he doesn't start using quite a number of those players because there are some severe weaknesses in that side and the way we lined up and the players that we used in certain positions. And I think, you know, notably Antonio up front, he was. There are two Antonios, as we know. There's one who, as soon as the first whistle goes, he's at it. He's on his defender. He's being a real pain. That wasn't the Antonio we saw on Saturday. This was the Antonio where every ball bounced off him. He couldn't trap a bag of cement, you know. So he's got to be dropped. He can't be the first choice anymore. I think that was only because it was the first game at home to a decent side. Had it been someone else, I think maybe he would have been sitting on the bench anyway. Souček has got to be dropped. I think there is broad consensus across pretty much every YouTube channel, at least, and forums and everything you read on social media. I think everybody saw that Souček was found wanting in that game, and it was a very strange way of deploying him further up the pitch, leaving Rodriguez to do all of the donkey work in his first game in the Premier League against a Champions League team. A bit too much to ask of Guido, to be honest. So those things have got to be fixed. Soufal has got to be fixed. Mavropanos, I think he played pretty well, as I said the other day. But again, Todibo is the better option. Let's not kid ourselves. Right, so he played well, but that's good. That's good. And there's some interesting news in the Times, of all places, today on Mavropanos. I'll come to that later. So he's got to start using the options that have been brought in for him, and I'm sure he will. You know, Todibo has now made his debut officially from the bench anyway. I'm pretty sure Wan-Bissaka will be ready to play. and it'll be just such a bonus if we can get Alvarez in. I don't know whether that would be alongside or instead of Rodriguez. I don't know. I don't know. But nonetheless, I think that's there is also some work to do, and I don't want to sound ungrateful with this, right? Because what seems to have happened so far in this window is we know that Lopetegui inherited a squad that was really not fit for purpose. It wasn't great, was it? What was left behind by David Moyes, it really wasn't. And so him and Tim have done an absolutely amazing job fixing most of the problems. It is only most of the problems, though. We know Loppy wants two good players, good options in each position. And if we move, seamlessly onto the transfer update, the imminent transfer, it looks like, of Carlos Soler, described as a lovely player, a Valencia legend. He's fast, right? He's fast. He's and I think that's what we were missing. One of the attributes we're missing in the middle. He's fast, but I wouldn't describe him as physical, right? So it could be the sort of person who could play alongside, but not instead of Alvarez, if you like. Acceleration and sprint speed, very similar to Bowen. So not the fastest, but fast enough, for that position. Very, very tricky player. It looks like it. Great reactions, great ball control, dribbling, composure, positioning, vision, all these sorts of things. He can take a free kick, apparently very highly rated on free kicks. He's going to be competing with Will Prowse about who can be the master of the free kicks. That'd be a tough competition, wouldn't it? He also takes a penalty, which is interesting because we see this as the Paqueta position, right? Because part of building a squad or rebuilding a squad is building something for the future, as we saw with the signing of Guilherme and this young chap who, Mahamadou Kante, aged 18, who was signing for PSG. So Guilherme, Kante's been loaned back immediately. It's the sort of thing Brighton do. I love that. It's what we did with Irving as well. These players are for the future. Guilherme is going to get hardly any game time this year, and I've seen people say, "What'd you bloody sign him for?" It's for the future. You've got a plan for the future. Hopefully that'll come good, right? Somerville. I don't think Somerville was brought in to play on the left wing in the first half of this season. I think it's with one eye on Kudus leaving next summer. So he'll gradually get more game time as the season goes on, I would imagine. Also, with Paqueta, going back to my original point, with Paqueta, that Lucas Paqueta, one way or another, whether it's a lifetime ban or he doesn't get a ban and he leaves, one way or another, at the end of this season, that's it for Paqueta. We ain't got him anymore. So at the end of the season, we're going to lose Paqueta. We're going to lose Kudus. We know we're going to lose Kudus, right? Let's face it. So we've got a plan in advance for that eventuality. And I think Somerville is the Kudus plan. And he's got most of the season to do bench appearances, to play in cups, and to build himself up physically because he really needs to. Compare him to Kudus, he's lightweight, right? He's a very, very talented player, and I really like him. And he loves playing on the left, and he will be great. He will be fantastic for us. But I think he's just going to ramp up. His role's going to ramp up as the season goes on. As for Guilherme, we're not going to see him. We're not going to see him this season. So anybody saying why did we sign him, use him. There's no harm in signing for the future, right? We could have signed a world-class talent there. That was the rumour, right? Who knows whether that comes to fruition? It might do, it might not, right? So, but anyway, I like that business. I don't mind it at all. So Carlos Soler, 107 grand a week. Apparently they're close to agreeing a deal, or it actually said this morning deal agreed, but I've not heard that mentioned anywhere else, to be quite honest. So I don't know whether it's true or not. But hopefully we'll get some updates on that pretty quickly and get this geezer through the door by the end of the week. Because he's all we've got at the moment, like what happened on Saturday. If you take Paqueta off, who comes on? It's Will Prowse, right? So it's all about having options. And if Paqueta's on the pitch, you can replace him with Soler, then that's a far better option, let's face it, right? So the other ones that are being rumoured. This is Tammy Abraham. And notice Zanussi, I said Abraham this time. I hope you like that. He had a serious knee injury last year. In his first year for Roma, he scored 37 goals. in Serie A, right? Then he had a serious knee injury that kept him out for most of last season. This season so far, he's played 1 minute. Now, I don't know how well that recovery has gone and how, you know, whether he's back to his best. I assume he is because apparently AC Milan are interested in this guy as well. But to me, that is a player who is not going to be ready for first team action immediately. I mean, he's been out for ages. So I didn't know that was the situation. I've got to be honest. I thought that knee injury, I should have looked into this before because I thought that knee injury had all been wrapped up and resolved at the end of last season, but clearly not. So that takes me back to John Duran, the ongoing saga of John Duran. We've spent 100 million. We've got Todibo on HP. We're going to get this other guy on HP, so that'd be 57 million, right? So if you're keeping up with me so far, it'd be 40 million for Duran. So 40 million, you know, a bit of rudimentary maths. That's 97 million that we would be owing other clubs with loan, with obligation to buy next summer. But then you see Kudus going out, which would probably cover all of those fees, assuming everything goes well. Also, the best thing could happen, and that is Paqueta gets let off or found not guilty or case dropped. We've got another 100 million and we can start building again and again and again. But this has got to turn into a production line, right? It's got to turn into a production line because that's how the best teams do it. You know, you look at Brighton and the way they do their transfer business. It is, they've always got the next player lined up. They've even got the next manager lined up. They've got everything planned in advance. It is a fluid machine. So they lose, no player is forever anymore. And about time people got their heads around that. I mean, look, let's face it, what could hurt more than losing Declan Rice, our captain? We all loved him when he was here. Losing him was a kick in the nuts. I'm afraid losing any other player is not going to compare to that pain, really, is it? Yes, you're going to go on and see, hopefully, see him go on and do great things for a big club. But that's the kind of level we are. We're a launch pad. We're a launch pad for the world's biggest clubs. If Kudus goes on from us, it's going to be to a Liverpool, right, or a Man U or something like that. And like it or not, they are bigger clubs than us, right? If you don't think that, you're in denial. Yeah. So I think all this planning ahead, you've got Kudus, who is probably going to be succeeded at some point this year, greater and lesser extent, by Somerville, at least on that left-hand side. Anyway, he'll make that his own at some point. And then you've got Guilherme, who's going to have a season, probably playing a cup game here and there, and maybe getting a run out against the lower teams, but just to blood him, just to bring him on. He ain't going to play against the good teams, right? Loppy ain't going to muck around against the good teams. So I think there's, he will get a fraction, a few minutes here and there, I would imagine. But then next year, he could do what Somerville is doing this year. Yeah, it all depends on whether these players are good enough and they're going to appreciate they're going to fully realise their potential, because they might not. You know, there's nothing guaranteed with a football player, is there? But this could be something really, really good. This could be something really good. I like it. I like this system of building for the future. Not only sort of M+1, you know what I mean? It's not only who's going to replace Kudus, but then potentially who's going to replace his replacement. And that is definitely the way we should be thinking. And I hope we're factoring our own youth system into this at the moment, because I don't hear anything about it. I think if you look back at the Villa game, it's clear we were crying out for somebody to be physical in midfield. And we've got an option in Andy Irving. We've got another option in Potts as well, right? Freddie Potts. Now, they're not coming into whether it's just seen as too early or too big a profile a game and he wants to use them in smaller games, I don't know. But I hope we do see them get some use at some point, and I hope these youth players are a part of the plan. Outbound players. So today in the Times, strangely, Konstantinos Dinos Mavropanos is being touted for 20 million, which is a rumour that happened a couple of weeks ago. And I think that performance the other day won't have done his cause any harm, right? And this is the problem we've got with these players at the moment is I think if there were people lining up to buy Maxwell Cornet, I think he'd be gone. Soufal, he'd be gone. Zuma, he's tatting his wares around Saudi at the moment trying to find a club. Ward-Prowse, nobody's interested. It's big wages. Souček, big wages. You know, having said that, there are teams out there that I see would be a good fit for Souček, like Everton, right? So why we can't do what we've been doing with other clubs and say loan with obligation, maybe the same with Ward-Prowse, yeah? Zuma, I think we've just got to pay him off and get him off the wage bill. Ings. Now, going back to when we reviewed the game against Villa, I said that Ward-Prowse played pretty well. Well, he kind of did because he was asked to do a job, he came on, he did it, and no one could really question that. So did Danny Ings, right? You've got to give credit where it's due. You can't just pretend that it's Ward-Prowse, so he's going to be crap. He wasn't crap. He was actually pretty good. Danny Ings was pretty good. These are players that look like they're playing to they're battling for a space in the team, which is really refreshing. Either that or they're battling to put themselves in the shop window. But that's all goodness. These players are not going to vanish, disappear into thin air. Someone's got to buy them. In order to buy them, they've got to see that they're not finished. I don't think Soufal done himself any good the other day. And Souček, I don't think he'd done himself any harm. It's just that's not his position, right? You have him in as a midfield, somebody who blocks and somebody who's a box crasher. That's it. He's a very, how can I say, not very refined footballer, if you like. Ward-Prowse, a very, very technical player, but only when used in an attacking midfield position, which is what Loppy did with him at the weekend, and he did all right. So maybe, just maybe, people will look at that and say, he's done all right, it's worth a punt. Surely somebody wants Ward-Prowse, Southampton, don't they? You want him back? I'll drive him. Him and Ings, don't forget, I predicted a double deal to Southampton before the window closes. Right. Either way, this is going to be, there's a lot of legs in this transfer window yet. There's a few weeks to go. There's a lot of stuff that's going to happen and potentially happen. There's still loads to go out, and there's still probably, we're going to sign a midfielder, we're going to sign a striker, so it should be this Soler. The striker, God knows who that'll be. I still reckon it'll end up being Duran, to be honest. I think he's burnt his bridges at Villa, whether he scored the other day or not. But I also think there's going to be another centre-half. But I think now we're at the stage where after Soler, we're going to have to move people out before we bring people in, if only to satisfy, the PSR requirements. I don't think we can push it too much. Karen Brady said that the 100 million for Declan Rice, when you apply it to the 3-year rolling profitability requirements under PSR, it puts us in a really healthy position, so we're nowhere near PSR breaching it. Yeah. So again, it is what it is. Right, so a little bit of channel news. That is all the news and all the transfer news. I've exhausted it. So again, thank you all for subscribing. And if you haven't subscribed, please do, because I've got a lot of plans for this channel. Now, this channel is my channel, but I want to run it with other people to do different types of content. I don't just want every show to be talking heads, right? Talking heads are great. They're great for news. They're great for reviews and previews and stuff like that. Fantastic, right? But if you want to do something a little bit more creative, what I want to do with the Bobby Moore stand, the clues in the name, I want this to be, last season, I'll just go off on a tangent here. Last season, there was a massive divide between fans in the ground and fans at home watching on TV and fans on social media. I hated that. I thought that divide was really, really unhealthy, and I never really want to go there again. I think people lost visibility of what it means to support West Ham. They lost the fun factor, right? I want to try and bring that fun back and that emotional bond. I want this channel to be a conduit between those people who watch at home, unfortunately can't get to see games, and those people who are in the ground. Don't forget, the people in the ground are saying stuff as well, right? So that is part of my thinking behind it, and that's why many of the people like Chris, who did the review and the preview with me, he goes to games. He goes to a lot of games like me. I'm going to try to do that, to give a voice to those fans that are inside the ground. and kind of make you feel like, if you like, um, if you can't go to games, I still want you to feel like you know what it's like to be in the ground, right? So that's a bit of a long-winded way of putting it, but that's where I'm going with the channel. I want to sort of inspire your emotions back to life. So this is the longest love affair of your life, West Ham, right? And at some point, it turned into a little bit of a bitter, a bit of semi-divorce. I want to sort of rekindle that love story with West Ham. That's what I want to do. I want to bring back memories. I want to, trigger your emotions and sort of pull you in. And I want to make videos, unlike this one, which has got like a 24-hour shelf life. I want to make videos that are just, they'll just last. They're just perpetual. Yeah. Things that West Ham supporters would want to watch out of the general interest of being a West Ham supporter. So that is what I'm going for. I've got about 20 different show formats. I've got lots and lots of people who are willing to help. I'm not going to get carried away and slam stuff in. It's not my style. As you can see with the studio, these things take me ages. But in the end, I'll get them right. And so that's what I'm going to do. That's what I'm going to do. Looks very barren in here at the moment, doesn't it? Don't worry. Won't last for long. So yeah, I'll carry on doing these shows, carry on doing the reviews and previews. That's the talking head stuff. But there will be a lot more to come. And finally, I will make some announcements on those. Once I've boiled that idea list of about 20 down to about 2 or 3 that I'm going to go forward with immediately, I'll let you know what they are and how we're going to do it. But the essence is fun and a bit of an emotional pull, right? That's what I want to do. Finally, you might not have noticed, well, you won't have noticed because I haven't told you about it, but there is an audio podcast version of every show that I make that's available on whatever audio podcast platform you use within about half an hour to an hour of these YouTube shows being published. All right, so unfortunately, I make these shows for YouTube. I don't make them, for an audio podcast audience. But I know a lot of people like to listen to YouTube in the car, and it's sometimes better. You sometimes get a better sound quality, do it through an audio app and stuff. And it's sometimes just more convenient. I listen to tons of podcasts myself. All right, so that's there. It's free. Please subscribe, download, listen. I've still got a bit of tweaking to do. It's kind of an early release. I think you'll find the intro music and the gap to when I start talking and the outro music. Yeah, I've got to fix that. For the moment, though, like this show that hasn't got an intro or an outro yet, it's just a case of getting content out there. So that's what I'm doing. All of the rest will be refined in time. All right, so bear with me. There's only one of me. I've got work to do, haven't I? But I've got a couple of weeks off soon, so I'm going to get some stuff done. Anyway, thank you for watching. I hope you've enjoyed this show. Again, please don't forget to subscribe to the channel, The Bobby Moore Stand, on YouTube. Give the video a like, hit the bell notification icon, maybe in the other order. Until next time, see you soon. Come on, your irons.